The following program contains graphic images. Viewer discretion is advised.
The week of February 19th, 1995. A scorching heat wave hits Los Angeles with a record high of 95 degrees. The Dow is also running hot, closing above 4,000 for the first time. Olympic diver Greg Louganis reveals he has AIDS. And President Bill Clinton honors the Marines who stormed the beaches of Iwo Jima on the Bloody Battle's 50th anniversary. But inside Judge Lance Ito's courtroom, a battle of a different sort. The families of Nicole Brown, Ron Goldman, and OJ Simpson are all seeking justice. Their definition of justice, very different. The People versus OJ Simpson continues. In week 5 of the OJ Simpson trial, one of the lead detectives takes the stand. Tom Lange and his partner have every decision they made scrutinized by the defense, down to the smallest detail. A grueling cross-examination accusing the detectives of sloppy police work. I'm Roger Cossack, and this is OJ25.
You seem to have two options. Either you offer an apology to the court, or we proceed to a contempt hearing. Those are your choices.
Mr. Darden is simply responding to the events that have been occurring in this courtroom today and have been occurring throughout cross-examination. I myself have become overwhelmed by the fact that the jury has been given hearsay, has been given, and the record will stand by what I said, slop, in the form of counsel testifying before every witness.
Didn't I just tell you I didn't want to hear them? I'm interested in a contempt proceeding.
The tension between the lawyers, evident throughout the trial, explodes during a sidebar conversation. The mic is turned off, but Chris Darden so infuriates Judge Lance Ito that he stops the trial and sends the jury out of the courtroom.
My recollection is that Johnny really could get under Chris's skin.
I'm just telling Mr. Cochran I don't want to hear his mouth this afternoon, and so.
Because of that, I'd like to ask a few questions if I might be.
You may.
He could really say and do things that would cause Chris to react in ways that were predictable.
Mr. Darden, let me give you a piece of advice. Take about 3 deep breaths, as I'm going to do. You want to take a recess now for a moment?
I don't require a recess, Your Honor.
All right. I'll hear your comment at this point. I've cited you. Do you have any response?
I would like counsel, Your Honor.
You represent Mr. Darden in this matter?
I don't know if I'm legally entitled to, but I would like to be heard on his behalf.
All right.
What we are all concerned about here, Your Honor, is that there is a method of cross-examination that is being conducted by Mr. Cochran.
That's not what I'm interested in, Ms. Clark.
And that is the impetus for the exchange at sidebar, Your Honor. And we are, all of us, greatly concerned about what the jury is getting. They're getting, that is the impetus, that is what led to
I don't want to hear
the exchange at sidebar, Your Honor.
No, Ms. Clark, I don't want to hear about that. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the refusal to the refusal to obey the court's order, not to address that issue, not to speak to the court, as I was hearing from one counsel, not to interrupt the court. And the court gave 3 admonitions, and Mr. Darden chose to ignore those.
Mr. Darden did not choose to ignore them. I think Mr. Darden was simply at that time overcome with what has been transpiring with Mr. Cochran's cross-examination. It was not a desire to flaunt the court's authority.
He's a very sensitive man. He took this case very seriously, and to this day, he takes this case very personally.
When I invite counsel to take 3 deep breaths and think very carefully about what they're going to say to the court next, that's an opportunity to get up and say, gee, I'm sorry, I lost my head there. I apologize to the court. I apologize to counsel. When you get that response, then we move on. If you want to fight some more with the court, you're welcome to do so. I'm going to take a recess. I'm going to give you and Mr. Darden an opportunity to think about this carefully, with about 10 deep breaths, perhaps.
Every lawyer knows that in a courtroom, you're not going to win every battle. Some you're going to win, some you're not going to win. So you try and pick your spots to win the ones that you think you need to win and not fight so hard on the ones you don't care about.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause not to be court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do. In the course of your investigation, did you learn that Faye Resnick moved in and started living with Nicole?
Sustained.
Asking.
Sustained.
Did you find out at some point in the course of your investigation that Faye Resnick moved in with Nicole Brown Simpson on or about June 3rd, 1994? You found out?
Overruled.
You're saying no foundation?
Overruled.
Nicole Brown and Faye Resnick meet in 1990. Faye moves in with Nicole a couple of weeks before the murders. The defense wants to explore with Detective Lange Resnick's possible drug connections and if they might have something to do with the murders. The prosecution doesn't want this theory allowed in front of the jury. Decades later, Resnick is still being questioned about the case.
I can't comment on that. I really don't know, honestly. I just think it brings back bad memories.
Did you not find out in the course of your investigation that in truth and in fact, Faye Resnick became a resident at 875?
Let me see counsel this sidebar, please.
So during the trial, we have no idea what is happening during the sidebar. But now we've got the transcript, so we know exactly what they're saying, and it's absolutely amazing. You're talking about Johnny Cochran at sidebar accusing prosecutors of not knowing how to try a case. Well, Chris Darden gets really angry, feeling the pressure of the moment, taking it very personally, and says to the judge, what, Johnny Cochran's the only one in this courtroom who knows how to try a case? And then the judge gets angry, not with Cochran, but with Christopher Darden, threatens him with contempt twice, and then gives him one more chance, and Darden goes back to the judge. This cross-examination is out of order.
You wish to pursue this?
We are only asking for the opportunity at this time to confer with counsel.
It's a very simple way to terminate this, Ms. Clark.
I'm aware of that.
I think I've offered it to you twice already now. I don't know that I have to do it a third time. But I'm prepared to go forward if you wish to choose, if you choose otherwise. This is very simple. Perhaps as Mr. Darden had the opportunity to review the transcript that I have before me, he'd see the wisdom of that.
Thank you for the opportunity to review the transcript of the sidebar. It appears that the court is correct that perhaps my comments may have been or are somewhat inappropriate. I apologize to the court. I meant no disrespect.
Mr. Darden, I accept your apology. I apologize to you for my reaction as well. You and I have known each other for a number of years, and I know that your response was out of character, and I'll note it as such.
If you recognize the item that I've just shown to you, marked as People 77.
The following program contains graphic images. Viewer discretion is advised.
Now, at what point were you assigned to this particular case?
I was notified at home at 3 a.m., approximately 3 a.m. on June 13th. So I responded. I get up, shower, hit the road.
And at what time did you arrive at 875 South Bundy?
At approximately 4:25 a.m.
And what was the first thing that you did when you got there?
Well, after approaching Detective Van Adder, I was introduced to Detective Phillips and Detective Fuhrman. I was satisfied in my mind that the crime scene was indeed secured by what I saw, yes. We went through the house, observed things in the house. This is just a preliminary walkthrough to tell us kind of what we have.
What did Detective Phillips say to you, sir?
Detective Phillips stated to me that there were bloody shoe prints on the walkway, along with blood droplets, to be very careful where I stepped. We took this little pathway through the rear, through the garage. Various things were pointed out, like the melting ice cream in the back, Nicole's vehicle in the back. There was some blood in the back alleyway. I proceeded with Detective Phillips. Along the way, I observed blood droplets on the driveway to the left of or the south of those shoe prints. So we're looking for our suspect with an injury to the left side of their body. I'm not being rude here, but this is the finger that Simpson had cut.
When you got to the rear gate, did Detective Phillips point anything out to you?
Yes.
And what was that?
Pointed out what appeared to be a blood transfer or smear on the upper rung of the gate, and what appeared to be 2 droplets of blood on the lower inside rung of the rear gate.
Now, in the area of the front door, did you see any bloody shoe prints in that area?
Yes.
Okay, were they angled in towards the front door?
No, at the front door, they appeared to be going directly westerly.
Past the front door?
Correct.
At some point, did they angle in towards the condominium?
Just prior or east of the front door on the walkway, they did appear to do some type of a turnaround.
And what were you able to see?
I observed a white envelope in the dirt between the 2 victims.
Can you tell us, is that the body of Ron Goldman, sir?
Yes, that photograph is looking downward and towards the north by northwest. I observed what appeared to be possible defense wounds. The left leg appeared to have been cut. There's quite a bit of blood coming down the left trouser leg. There was scrape marks and blood running across the face. It's a little cold to say, but at a crime scene, the victims are actually now their evidence. I observed the victim to be lying at her left side, appeared to be in what I would term a semi-fetal position. You don't approach the bodies and like they do on television and stick your hands in their pockets and turn them over and touch them and do this, and you don't even get near the bodies. The coroner is in charge of the bodies or anything on the bodies or in the bodies. I observed what appeared to be a dark brown or black leather-appearing glove and appeared to be a blue knit cap in the dirt area near the feet of victim Goldman.
Detective Lange, I'm showing you now. I'm removing it from the brown bag, showing it to you now. Without touching it, sir, can you tell us if you recognize the item that I've just shown to you marked as People 77?
It appears to be the glove that I observed at the foot of Mr. Goldman.
Sir, do you recognize what's shown to you there?
Yes, that also appears to be the blue knit stocking cap I observed near the glove.
Good afternoon, Detective Lange.
Yeah, Phil.
You have been a homicide detective for more than 20 years, is that correct?
It's approximately 20 years. These defense attorneys are going to push you, and they're going to push some more. They're going to ask you irrelevant questions.
Are you aware that Officer Risky, the first patrolman on the scene, touched Mr. Goldman's body? Are you aware of that?
Only through the testimony of Officer Risky.
And where'd you see that testimony, hear that testimony?
I was observing it on television.
So you're watching television?
Yes. Would you kindly repeat that, please? Or I don't recall. Can I check my murder books? Because I had my murder books with me on the stand.
What are you referring to there?
This is my murder book,
That's your homicide book?
Yes, that's one of them.
Okay. And so how many books do you have? Homicide books do you have?
In this case?
Yes, in this case.
4 or 5.
And you're taught to, and it's a good practice every now and then, to acknowledge the jury respectfully. You maybe nod to them, you look towards them. You don't scowl at them, you look towards them. Recognize that they're there. It's common sense, it's courtesy. Every time I did that, they were staring at me, not staring, they were glaring at me. And they hated me. I was the LAPD. I'm going to beat Rodney King. I'm a racist. I'm an evidence planner. I did this. That's the looks I got. They set up on a little knoll right across the street. Perfect angles for the camera. They're like, the knoll was probably, I don't know, 10, 12 feet up. I looked over at one point, there had to be 20 different cameras set up along the knoll, just shooting right in at our crime scene, which we didn't want.
The excerpts that I'm going to be pointing out to the court is the lack of depth, the lack of perspective. This tape is clearly more misleading and more prejudicial than probative.
And where does it say that a videotape, an accurate depiction of what happens, would not be admissible?
The problem that we have is that we have a cameraman whose angle and position is unknown, and we have the use of a lens, the nature of which is unknown.
This is a videotape. This would be almost like, and I'm sure that in the Rodney King case, I'm sure the prosecution argued, you can't show that tape. The defense argued we couldn't show that tape. But this is an accurate recollection of what took place.
It tends to leave the inference that the feet are in blood or contaminating blood as they move, when you really can't even see them.
I now want to, Your Honor, with Your Honor's permission, mark as defendant's next in order a videotape, and I want to ask the officer some questions regarding that videotape. Did you ever use more than one pair of gloves that day, if you recall?
I may have. I had gloves on for a while, had them off for a while, had them on. I may have. If I'd taken those off, I couldn't have put them back on, so I'd have put a different pair on.
You have that written down anywhere? Is that in your notes?
I took my gloves off?
Yes, that you changed gloves at the scene.
No. When you have the amount of evidence that we had in the Simpson case or any other case, you're a defense attorney. If you don't go after the cops, you're a damn fool. You put the cops on trial. That's what you do. If you don't do that, you're not a very good attorney. I've had a lot of high-profile cases, and the cops are always attacked for silly little things. This is Detective Phillips in the right of the photo with his back to us.
Who is that man on the landing without a coat?
I'm having a hard time seeing it from here. It's me. Okay.
Does that look like you?
Yes.
All right. All right. And you're bending down. Are you taking some kind of measurements at that point?
Yes.
They're standing there at that point above you. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you're about to step into the area where Mr. Goldman's body was found?
That's correct.
Now, you had no coverings on your shoes at that point, did you?
That's correct.
Now, who is that coming through there now? With no glove? Who is that?
Mr. Fung.
And is he one of the criminalists?
Yes. I never worked a case with Dennis. I think he'd been around for about 10 years or so. I would call him a competent criminalist, not an overly experienced one.
You see he has nothing on his hands?
Yes.
And he's carrying, you back that up a minute, Mr. Harris? Stop it there. He's carrying a bag or something in his hand?
Yes.
The way that the evidence was collected was a major, major point in the trial and a major part of the defense case. The defense alleged that the collection of the evidence led to corrupted evidence, contaminated evidence. The LAPD made mistakes. They admitted to making mistakes.
You never saw Fung with any coverings on his shoes, right? That morning?
I never observed any, no.
Do you recall whether or not he was wearing gloves at any time that morning?
I don't know whether he's wearing gloves or not.
Investigators definitely dropped the ball in the way they collected the evidence.
You had a couple of criminalists who didn't have a lot of experience. They could have done a couple of things differently. They didn't do. Did it mean anything as far as the evidence went? No.
Let me ask you this. You said in your testimony you saw some blood spots on the rear gate there at Bundy on June 13th, 1994. Is that correct?
Yes.
Those spots have been pointed out to you by Detective Phillips?
That's correct.
You in turn pointed them out to Mr. Fung?
That's correct.
Did you direct Mr. Fung to collect those particular blood spots?
I directed him to do that, and I believe I mentioned to check the entire gate.
All right. And you expected that to be done, isn't that correct?
Yes.
There was a blood drop on the back gate leading away from the crime scene that wasn't collected until a few weeks later, till July 3rd. And this was a blood drop that was later DNA evidence said that it was OJ Simpson's blood.
It was not done on June 13th, was it?
No.
In fact, it wasn't done on June 14th, was it?
That's correct.
And neither the 15th?
That's correct.
In fact, it was not done until July 3rd, some 3 weeks later, is that right?
That's correct.
The interesting thing is he was really liked by the police. And in this case, kind of turned the tables for Johnny Cochran.
You're a homicide detective of over 20 years' experience, right? Well, that's foundational.
It's a state.
And
the way it's phrased,
all right,
it's argumented.
Well, let me say, you're a homicide detective of 20 years' experience, aren't you?
Yes. Personally, I really like the guy. He's a funny man. He had a dry sense of humor. You get a kick out of him if it's one-on-one, but you're in court and you're getting cross-examined by him, it's a little different. He's going to bring up all those little things. He knows damn well aren't worth anything. They don't mean anything.
Do you recognize what's shown there, sir?
Yes, that's appeared to be a dark brown or black leather glove that was pointed out to me by Fuhrman.
As week 5 of the People versus OJ Simpson unfolds, the prosecution finds itself on the defensive. Johnny Cochran accuses Detective Tom Lange of failing to consider any suspects other than OJ Simpson, again citing contamination of the crime scene and sloppy police work.
So Commander Bushy had ordered that a personal notification be made to Defendant Simpson, and you discussed that with Detective Van Adder?
That was part of the discussion, yes.
Tom was the kind of guy that he just marched forward and he just did what needed to do. Instead of just arguing about it, he just went and just did it.
What was the other part of the discussion?
That we would want to speak with Mr. Simpson, get some type of an initial statement from Mr. Simpson in regards to our investigation, to meet him, to see that his children had been picked up or cared for. And to probably leave Fuhrman and Phillips with Mr. Simpson and return to the crime scene to do the investigation. We got to the Rockingham location at about 5:15. It was still dark. Driving up Rockingham, it's a fairly narrow street. Approached the Rockingham gate, and there was a white Bronco parked right by the Rockingham gate, a little bit at an angle. I observed him looking at the white Bronco.
And what did Detective Fuhrman tell you?
Detective Fuhrman stated that he believed there was blood on the door of the Bronco.
So I'm looking, and as I'm looking on the door, I see some little specks, some streaks of red that looks like blood.
Phillips attempted to phone the residence with his cellular phone. I could hear the phone ringing from the street. We could raise no one at the location. We've just left the bloody crime scene. 2 people viciously attacked, numerous stab wounds, one nearly decapitated. Is there somebody in that house bleeding? Is OJ Simpson in that house bleeding? You get paid to make decisions sometimes, okay? So we decided to go in.
What happened next?
Fuhrman was standing closest to the left side of the gate. He said, I can go over the wall. I said, okay, go. He at this time went over the wall, stepped to his right, and manually pulled the hydraulic gate open. We got to get into the house and make sure that everybody is okay. We were told that Simpson, by Arnelle, and then Cato, that Simpson was in Chicago. We didn't know those details when he left. Although Arnelle said, and Cato said, well, he left last night. It was about this time that Detective Fuhrman approached me. He asked me to accompany him outside into the rear of the bungalow.
So where did Detective Fuhrman take you on that south side path?
He took me down to a point just as indicated in the photograph here. Appears to be a wall air conditioner coming out of the left side of the wall. That particular area is the rear of Cato Kalin's guest room. He took me to a point just this side of the air conditioner.
Do you recognize what's shown there, sir?
Yes, that's appeared to be a dark brown or black leather glove that was pointed out to me by Fuhrman. Fuhrman didn't plant anything. He didn't plant the glove or anything else. He did his job properly at Rockingham after interviewing Cato Kalin. Cato Kalin says he heard a noise behind his bungalow. He did the right thing. He did the good thing. He followed up on what Cato Kalin said, and he found the glove. That's good police work.
You're the lead investigator in this case. Whether or not there are any blood droplets or anything like that in and around this area where this glove was allegedly found?
I don't believe there are.
All right. What about on the fence? Find any blood spots or anything? Any smears on this fence to the right of where that glove was allegedly found?
I'm not aware of any.
All right, and you're the investigator, right? Still?
I am the investigator at Bundy. We had a bifurcation. Detective Van Adder took Rockingham, and I took Bundy as a crime scene. Now, when the sun came up, everybody could see the blood leading from the rear of the Bronco, through the Rockingham gate, up the driveway, into the foyer, and right into the house.
You don't ask a question unless you have the evidence to back it up.
The whole case was predicated on this, that I planted evidence because I was racist.
We are asking that the people be allowed an opportunity to respond, to be heard before whoever is going to be cross-examining Detective Fuhrman comes out with racially blasphemous types of allegations.
The center of the defense case was this argument that OJ Simpson was framed by Mark Fuhrman, by Phil Van Adder, that there was a cover-up, and that was spurred by racism on the part of these police officers.
He certainly wasn't a figure who was, let's say, had street cred in the black community. I mean, he was seen as someone who had more or less kind of assimilated and sort of moved beyond his so-called blackness. That wasn't his thing. He wanted to be OJ, which was, beyond race. And for most African Americans who feel the weight of their status of being black, that's not a noble position to take.
When I think about race relations and everything, especially with OJ Simpson, I think the race card was played majorly.
If you believe that Mark Fuhrman is a racist, that would give him the motive for setting up OJ Simpson.
And this is not a unique case, nor is this detective the first one that may be in a position to be accused of that. However, and to cut to the quick of this matter, short of giving the prosecution an opportunity to interrupt the cross-examination or preview what it can then warn its witness about, and he won't be surprised as long as the information used is truthful, because he will have been privy to it. Whether counsel knows about it or not is another question.
An allegation of racism is one of the most abhorrent things that anyone can say about someone. And it will cause these jurors to remember that and will cloud their perception of this witness. And all we're basically asking for is for an opportunity for the court to decide, not the defense attorney, but for the court to decide whether or not an area is appropriate to go into. There is no evidence that Detective Fuhrman moved any evidence or planted any evidence.
I propose the following: that the defense provide to you in camera, under seal, not to be given to either the press or the prosecution, but to assist you in making rulings from time to time as they may be necessary in cross-examination. Number one, the areas of intended inquiry, and number two, the supporting evidence.
I just want to reiterate again, Your Honor, the unique and unusual circumstances of this case. I'm not aware of any situation where we've had these types of allegations against a police officer who has recovered important evidence in a double murder that's being reported on worldwide by the press.
If there is not a denial, then the need for contradictory evidence evaporates. If there is a denial, I was taught 40 years ago that you don't ask a question unless you have the evidence to back it up.
This is a rough, dirty game, and this is the way it plays out.
In this case, they were going to play race in the media to affect a trial on TV, to influence a judge, to intimidate people, and that's exactly what happened. So it really doesn't matter who you are. If the case doesn't involve race, then a judge needs to actually keep the trial on the straight and narrow and say, this may be the worst person that ever walked on the face of the earth, which I think that was close to what Marcia Clark said. That may all be true, but that is irrelevant to the facts in this case.
In the black community, there was suspicion from the very beginning of police officers like Fuhrman.
Almost from the beginning, race is a subtext of the news coverage. Time magazine's cover story on Simpson's arrest enrages African Americans when the magazine's editors darken his mugshot.
They made him look like a criminal. The media, the white media, was so quick to begin to uncover, and the LAPD, to uncover things that tied him to the murder.
Since the murders, the headlines in the LA Times and the African American press, led by the LA Sentinel, reflect very different editorial perspectives.
The LA Sentinel was part of its mission, part of its purpose was to provide an alternative to the mainstream press, to the LA Times, to local TV news and radio news and so forth.
For example, the week after the Bronco chase, the front page of the Sentinel praises the loyalty of OJ friend Al Collins, who drives the Bronco during the chase. By comparison, the LA Times story on the Simpson-Cowlings friendship runs on page 19. Outside the courthouse, the scrum of cameras is like a forest fire that creates its own weather. Everyone is fair game. Lawyers coming and going.
Kristen, how are you? Sure, Kristen. Split sides here. Hi, gang.
Why does the press...
Family members and spectators. Meanwhile, the very presence of the cameras is a magnet for those who crave attention.
The OJ trial really needed our presence.
There were dozens and dozens and dozens of cameras anytime you went into or out of the courtroom, the building. You know, none of us had ever experienced anything like that.
There was this huge media camp, we called it Camp OJ, which was across the street with risers and tents and satellite trucks. There was a gauntlet every day into the courthouse that the defense would walk with reporters on either side shouting out questions.
You guys rolling back there? Good, how are you?
During the 5th week of the trial, Judge Ito takes a tour of a courthouse storage room turned newsroom. Over 2 decades later, relics from the improvised media hub, typewriters, old batteries, and wiring from the phones journalists used remain as if frozen in time.
There was both a camaraderie and a cutthroat attitude in covering the OJ case.
While the way I did it was insensitive, it would have been much more insensitive for them to find out their daughter was murdered over the television.
At the point that Detective Phillips made the phone call to Chicago, what did you do?
I more or less walked with Arnelle, attempted to escort her away from the phone out towards the sunroom in the front of the house. I had determined at that point that I was going to tell her what had happened. She was very inquisitive and becoming more and more upset. And I felt this was the time that I should make this notification about the death of Nicole Simpson.
What happened next?
She became extremely upset. Extremely upset. She calmed down after a little bit to the point where she asked if she could call her dad's best friend and have him come over to the house, Mr. A.C. Cowlings.
What is the policy for LAPD with respect to the preferred method of notification of next of kin when a homicide has occurred or a death has occurred?
For the investigating detective to notify in person.
But you didn't do that with the Browns?
No, I didn't. I felt that in the very near future there would be immense media attention, and that once the information were to get out that Nicole Brown Simpson was a victim of a murder, that they could find out through the media what had happened. And while the way I did it was insensitive, it would have been much more insensitive for them to find out their daughter was murdered over the television.
The worst thing, the hardest thing I've ever done is make death notifications. I had to do it in this case, unfortunately, over the phone. That's a horrible thing to do.
It was 6:15 in the morning on June 13th when we got a call. And I was in the kitchen, and for some reason I was awake, and I heard my mom scream.
You can watch every horror movie that you saw with every scream encompassed into one human person, into one embody. And I was like, whoa, what just happened?
This is a call early in the morning out of nowhere. I'm calling a family. If I don't call them, the media is. The media is all over this by this time.
And I just remember that, and I ran back to her bedroom, and I said, what is going on? She was on the phone, she was standing up, she had the receiver to her ear.
My mom was white, like whiter than white, like this, like her life was like sucked out of her.
I said, what's going on? She goes, your sister's been killed. I said, what? Because we had just seen her the night before. And I grabbed the phone, and it was Tom Lange on the other end.
Shortly after I began to speak to Mr. Brown, Denise Brown, I got on apparently another phone.
What did you tell them?
I said, what's going on? He goes, your sister was killed. And I go, oh my God, he did it. And he goes, who did it? And I said, OJ Simpson. I said, he murdered my sister.
Denise Brown began to scream over the phone, what I believed to be hysterically.
Now, I got initially Lou on the phone and Juditha, but unbeknownst to me, her sister had picked up another phone and was overheard what I said, and she started screaming. I knew it, that OJ, he killed her. I know he did. She's out of her mind screaming. It's OJ, he did it. I know he did it. We're going to be talking to a lot of people. There's no rush here, but we're going to start with Simpson when he gets back. But when she started screaming like that, we're going to obviously take a hard look at this guy. Why would she say that? Why would you immediately go right to that? Immediately. When Mr. Goldman's body had been removed from the position that I first observed it, his pockets were checked, and the California driver's license was found in one of his pockets.
I was working that day, and I heard about Nicole's murder, and as it was stated on the news, Nicole and a friend were murdered. And I came home, and as soon as I walked in the door, Patty started calling Fred, come, there's somebody calling, something about Ron.
The lady on the other end said, this is a coroner's office. Well, of course I know what coroner means, but it just did not even register. And the woman said to me, did you hear about the murder of Nicole Brown? And I said, no.
I don't remember whether she told me who was on the phone or when I picked up the phone. It was somebody calling from the coroner's office. And they asked me if I had heard about what happened during the day. And I said, what does that have to do with me?
And they said, well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but your son, Ron Goldman, was the other victim. And Fred, I said, Fred, hurry up, get here. Hurry, something happened to Ron. Hurry up, come to the phone. And it was like, Fred turned so white. I mean, it was a shock, like, beyond anybody's comprehension. I mean, it almost like didn't register, it just did not register.
That's how it was told, over the phone by a coroner.
Within about 30, 40 seconds of the coroner telling my dad that it was my brother that was the other victim, my brother's driver's license picture was flashed on the news. It's a conflicting feeling to wish that your loved one would have run to protect themselves when their choice to stay and try to help another person cost them their life.
This is not justice. This is a sham. And again, I'm thinking, gosh, what could have been? What if? What if this was only 6 months and there was no cameras here? What if there was a gag order and they didn't release all this? What if there was no Fuhrman? What if there was no Rodney King? The last thing anybody thought about was 2 young people getting slaughtered in West LA in the middle of the night on a walkway. That just seemed to be forgotten entirely.
Week 5 of the trial ends with a twist as the jury is dismissed, when prosecution and defense attorneys do battle over a new witness who is about to leave the country. That's next on OJ25. I'm Roger Cossack.